Ladies and gentlemen, for the next 90 minutes, we will have two speakers on stage. Our second session is hosted by Joshua Martinez with Mastering BI Reports in Business Central. But first, get your hands together for our first speaker of the day, Haoran Sun with Mastering Contoso Dam Date in Business Central.
Hi everyone, my name is Haoran. I'm a software engineer from Microsoft, and this is my first time at Tech Days, so I'm very happy to be here and to present you Mastering Contoso Demo Data in Business Central. And before we get started, let's test this cool light we all get. How many of you have worked with demo data in Business Central before? Okay, so that's actually many of you. And how many of you have already played around with Contoso demo data? Okay, also quite a few people. But that's great, that's great. We will try to cover both audience and we work through it. The agenda for today, we will first go through the previous demo tool we have in Business Central. We give a brief overview of what's going on and what's the future for it. And we will give a quick introduction on the Contoso demo data, an overview of what the tool is and what's the feature. And we'll spend most of our time to build a demo data module from scratch, so we all learn how to build a demo data module for your own customers. And finally, we will reserve some time for questions. So the previous demo tool we provide you is rapid start packages. Those are the files you get in those brand new environments. I try to highlight the previous word. Okay, it's visible up there, that's great. I highlight the previous because we are moving away from this approach for a few reasons. First one, it is a monolith approach for demo data. You get one file. It is not a trivial effort to split this file into different modules. Most of the time, you either import all demo data or no demo data. It goes against the componentization we are working in Business Central. And it is also hard to maintain. So there's a few reasons that make it difficult. First one is localizations. For different localizations, you want to populate different tables, then you need two packages because different tables do not exist in different localizations. And version control is hard because it's a simply file-based system, so it's hard to do version control. And translation makes it even harder to maintain because you need different files for different translations. And finally, upgrade is hard to handle because unlike VS Code, you get warnings, says this table is going to be obsoleted in a couple of waves. It's simply a file sitting in your computer. And this is how we imagine it could look like after a couple of iterations working on demo data to update certain customers or vendors. It gets very ugly very soon. And for those reasons, we worked towards Contoso demo data to address those issues. And first of all, I'm very, very happy to tell you that from version 25.3, so it's already in production, we, Microsoft internally, have completely migrated to Contoso demo data. That means all the environment you get today, all the SaaS demo data are powered by Contoso, including the demo we've seen in the keynote. And this is because we have a modularized design in demo data, Contoso. We separate all our demo data into different scenario-based units. So each module can work separately and together. So if you like what Microsoft shipped, all of the data, then perfectly fine, you get all the data. Or if you only want service scenario in your demo, that's also all right. You don't need to see all the data from different scenarios that you don't intend to present. And what's more, we separate each module into 4 data layers. This is to help you further separate your data into different chunks, so it's easier to maintain. And we also support dependency, so you don't have to copy-paste your code across different modules. If you need some posting groups in the finance module we provide, simply take dependency on it, and we will generate the demo data for you. And there's a couple more things. With Contoso, all the demo data lives in your repository as code, and that naturally brings some benefits, like so version control will be like Git source control, like any of your other code. Translation is straightforward as well, just like how you translation labels nowadays. We also built Contoso demo data with extensibility in mind, so you can build on top of what we have shipped. And we also packed in a few features to help you speed up your productivity, so you can focus on building your demo data scenarios. We also offer some configuration, so you can configure the demo data to target the end customer you're demoing, so it feels more personalized of what they are doing. And finally, all the code are open source at AL App Extensions repository. So feel free to go check it out and click around and see how we build everything. And here is a high-level architecture of how Contoso demo data looks like. So at its core is Contoso demo 2. The 2 itself does not contain any demo data. Think of it as an orchestration engine that includes the interface definition, it includes the logic for dependencies, and things like that. And on top of it, all the demo data are built into modules. So here is a very simplified view of how it looks like. We have warehousing module and manufacturing module that are built by Microsoft. They are all separate modules. And imagine you are partner A, that you do not like whatever is shipped by Microsoft. That's perfectly fine. Build your own module directly on top of the demo tool, and then you'll be able to generate your demo data without all the distractions. Or your partner B, that you do like what Microsoft shipped out of the box, but you would just like some more additional demo data so you can further demonstrate your scenario. Simply take dependency on the warehousing and manufacturing scenarios. Then those demo data will be generated for you. And let's do a quick recap. Our plan is to stop shipping the RapidStart packages in the future. We have not set a date for it yet, but this is our plan, that to completely migrate away from the RapidStart package-based demo data. And we have internally fully migrated to Contoso demo data since version 25.3, and because of its modularized and extensible design. And next, we're gonna do a bit more hands-on, very technical part. We'll build a demo data for a shoes company from scratch. I have uploaded all the source code on BC Tech repository. So if you're not familiar with that repository, here is a QR code that helps you, redirects you to the source code. You can play around it. And if you don't have a chance to take a picture, don't worry. All the slides will be uploaded. Yes, before diving into the code, I want to give the same advice that I gave internally for Microsoft engineers as well. When you build a demo data module, first explore what data has already been generated in your environment. Click around and go to customer list, item list, and see what data is already there. So you might find some things has already been generated that fits in your scenario. So you don't have to generate those data. Take dependency and it will be there. And work through the scenario you want to build manually. Create a customer, create an item, and create a sales order using those customer and vendor and items. And this way you have a clear understanding of what data you need to create. Now let's dive into the code. So to get started, it's very straightforward. Create an app, take dependency on Contoso demo data, extend the enum and implement the interface. I will swap into the code. Just quickly check. Super, it looks all right. So here I have a fairly blank app. I have to admit, I cheated a bit. We're not going to do live coding here. All the code I have coded beforehand. So in the app.json, nothing magical. Add dependency to Contoso coffee demo dataset, the app. And remember the version, it has to be bigger than 25.3 to leverage full power of Contoso demo data. The app exists before, but we do not have that much feature yet. And the second step, extend the enum on top of Contoso demo data module. This is to tell Contoso, hey, we have a new module called Contoso shoes. We would like to be used by you. And implement the interface is also straightforward. Autocomplete should give you those blank procedures you need to implement. And we will work through them one by one. And so far, we already built an empty app that's actually already publishable to the environment, but simply a demo data module that does nothing. So the next step is to find the dependencies you want your module to depend on. So by this stage, you should already know what data you want to use when you click around the environment. And find those data and figure out which module they belong so you can take dependencies. And let me check in the commit for the next part. Very simple. We have implemented the get dependencies procedure. What it does is we're giving a list of dependencies. We're saying we need to take dependency on the foundation module. And this is because we need number series generated from foundation module. We also take dependency on the finance module. This is because I would need to use the posting groups generated there. At this point, you may think, Haoran, this is kind of cheating. You are very familiar with the code base, then of course you know what demo data is generated in which module. But worry not, for those who are not familiar with the code base, jump into the definition of the enum. You can see a list of demo data modules we provide out of the box. Actually, all 17 modules so far. And you can easily jump into each module's implementation to see what data is created where. And another easier thing to do is let me go to the definition of customer table. Here we go. This is definition of table customer. So you might need a module that generates data for customer. How do you know which module is that? Scroll all the way to the up, and you can see the namespace is under sales. And that is why the customer data is created inside the sales module. So inside Contoso, we try to split demo data according to the namespace defined in Business Central. So this way, you can get a general direction to see where your data is packed. Good. That's all the dependencies. And next, we're going to create some setup data of our own. And this part, we will use something called helper code unions that helps you to easily insert demo data. Let's check out the commit. So here I have two code unions that insert demo data. I want to sell shoes in my company. I want to sell shoes in pairs. I do not want to sell only one of them. So I create a new union of measure called pair. And the first thing to notice is this procedure called insert union of measure. This procedure is not defined in this app. If we jump into the definition, you can see it is actually defined in the demo tool itself. So inside Contoso demo tool, we ship a list of helper code unions that helps you insert data. So you don't have to worry about all the details inside. All you need to do is provide the parameters and we insert the data for you. And the logic is fairly straightforward. Let's just read through this procedure. What we are doing here, we are checking if the unit of measure record already exists. If already exists, and we do not want to override the data, and the procedure simply terminates. And if it doesn't exist, we will make sure to assign the value to the record in appropriate order and insert the data for you. So those are some of the productivity points we provide for you so you can focus on building the demo data scenario. And let's go back to the file. Another point in this file to notice is the procedure pair. So if you jump into the definition here, and you can see this procedure is simply referencing a label inside this file. So you might be wondering, okay, why don't we just simply refer to this label instead? Why do we need to create a procedure? And this is one of the most important design we choose in Contoso, is that for all records you want to insert, make sure to define the primary key as a procedure and in a descriptive way. Here we call it pair. So it is easier to reference between files, and later on we will move to master data. So you can simply call the procedure instead of defining the same label twice, and then you have to keep them in sync. And we also insert an item category called shoes. Very similar pattern, as you can see. Very straightforward. So that's how we insert setup data. We imagine setup data will include data like GL accounts, posting setups, posting groups, number series, and things like that. The next step we implement is master data. For master data, we imagine it will contain data like vendors, customers, items, and things like that. Those data are a bit more complex because they need to take reference on the setup data we have just created, or setup data from different modules. So let's take a look of what it looks like. Check out the commit. And here we have the first master data we're inserting, some shoes items. And this file looks a bit messy, but don't worry, the main content is very straightforward. So we're inserting some items called sneakers, some flip-flops, and some boots. Very simple. All the rest is reference calls to other data. What I want you to pay attention is that in this file, we do not have many hard-coded data. As you can see here, first, the gem product posting group is actually created in the finance module. We're just simply referring it here, so we don't have to create it again. And it's important that we use procedure references instead of hard-coded data, so you only have one place to maintain it. Okay, so we inserted some items. So for all the shoes we just created, I would like to insert some different shoe sizes. So for each shoe, I give it 2 sizes. For 26 centimeters of the shoes, I give it a description called UK 8.5 size. And for 27 centimeters, I give it a description called UK 9.5. And this is interesting because the data is only suitable for a UK company. But what if my shoes company was very successful? I expand my business to Belgium, for example. Now it brings us to the localization. So in Contoso demo data, we take localization very seriously because we, as you may know, we maintain around 20 localizations internally. And as a matter of fact, we have 20 Contoso apps for each localizations as well. But we do not want to copy-paste our code 20 times. We provided some features like the Contoso coffee demo data setup. It's a setup table that contains some of the fields and values that you will find useful in localizations. And we also have some powerful events defined in Contoso Demo 2 code unit that allows you customize the data you would like to see in different scenarios and including localization. Let's take a quick look how we managed to make sure the company works in Belgium as well. So ideally, this file should exist in a separate app in a different localization, but here, for convenience, I just defined it as a separate file. The first thing to note is the record Contoso coffee demo data setup. Let's jump into the definition. As you can see here, it is defined in the demo tool itself. And in this table, we have the most important field in this scenario is the country and region code here. So when you provision a new environment, this field will be already set it up for you, what localization it is. So you can utilize it to determine which context the code should be able to run on. We also have some other powerful fields like company type, is it VAT or is it sales tax, and things like that. I will vote that here. And as you can see, this is a event subscriber to the code unit Contoso demo tool. There are two main events on before generating demo data and then after generating demo data. For those two events, you get some parameters, so you get to know the context. You get to know which module we are currently running. You get to know which data level we are currently executing. So you can read the code like this. We are currently running demo data for Contoso shoes. And we have just finished generating demo data for master data. So now I would like to override the data so it's suitable for my Belgium company. I check the setup data, setup table is set to Belgium. If it is, then I tell the helper code unit, if the data already exists, I would like to override the data. I filter on all the shoes items I have created. And I use, again, the helper code unit to override the data. But this time, I specify I don't want UK shoe sizes anymore. I would like to use the EU shoe sizes. And that's how you do localization for to override some data in different localizations. And before we go to the next step, let's go back to the implementation and see what we have done. We have taken dependency. We have created some demo data for setup data and some data from master data. We also support to insert transactional data. Those data are like sales orders, purchase invoice, item journal, things like that. And we also support historical data. Those data are GL entries, posted sales order, or even some forecasting you have in your solution. We will not go through those two procedures today. The insertion of data follows a very similar pattern. And at the beginning here, you can see we have a configuration page procedure. We'll also not implement here, but we will show you in a demo of how it can be used in your scenario so you can generate personalized data. And let's switch to a quick demo of what we have just built and see how configuration works. So here is a blank company, completely blank. We can quickly see number series maybe to verify I'm not lying. There's no data in this company. And we search for Contoso demo 2 page. So this page, when it's open, automatically load up all the modules available in this environment. And at the bottom of the page, you can see we have Contoso shoes. Select the module and hit generate. It will insert all the data for you and pick up those implementations. And as you can see, that finance and foundation module has always also been run. This is because we take dependency on them, so they are also run to generate the data. And let's see all those cool shoes we have created. And here they are, some of shoes and boots we have created. And if we open those items, we can see the union of measure is correctly set to pair, and item category code is also correctly set. And let's go to the item variants to check the shoe sizes we specified. And here you can see that we have size for UK. That's by design. And let's see what if the company now expand to Belgium. Let me select the correct company. So now we switch to a Belgian company. Again, we go to Contoso demo tool. And here, what's important to notice is to first we go to Contoso coffee demo data setup. In this page, you can specify some of the fields we just seen. And in this case, I want to change the country and region code to Belgium. And we select Contoso shoes again, and we hit generate. And now the Contoso shoes data will be run with the localized data. Again, we go to items, select one of them, and check the item variant. And here the description has been correctly set to the EU sizes. And this is what we have just built. Let me quickly walk you through how it will look like to do the configuration. That is a powerful tool that we envision that you will use to generate personalized data for the scenario. Imagine you have built your demo data, but you would like the data to be generated that's more suitable to the customer you're gonna demonstrate tomorrow. That's all right. In some modules, you do not have to define the configuration. For example, the bank module does not have any configuration. That's also okay. But for warehousing, if you hit configure, you'll be able to see there is a few options that allow you to fill out. So in this scenario, if you don't do anything, the module will generate, but it will use some items of its own provided in the module. However, if you specify all the shoes we have just created, now the whole manufacturing scenario will be run using the items you have just provided. This is going to take a while, but the idea is you'll be able to demonstrate the scenario using the personalized demo data. We will not wait for it to finish. And we have saved some time for Q&A before we switch back to see what data has been generated. I got this cool tool. Perfect already. Let's see if it works. I can throw it well. Perfect.
So, okay. Maybe I'm wrong, but in the past with the standard demo data, I never found cost accounting part, cost accounting module.
Yeah.
Is this fixing also that part, or we have to create our own cost accounting data?
That's a good question. So with the Contoso demo data effort, we did not implement too many new demo data. What we did is to switch to the underlying engine to the new Contoso approach. So most likely the demo data stays the same as before. Okay. But that's a good idea. We can submit on maybe BC ideas, and we will work on it to provide something out of the box. But alternatively, you can build your demo data on top of Contoso as well.
Yeah, yes, of course, but it's something that I have to spend time to. So it would be better if Microsoft can provide demo data for each modules, because cost accounting is something that is very useful, but creating demo data, it's time is consuming. So
definitely.
So if you can do, please do.
Yes. Yes, we will keep that in mind. Please submit an idea, maybe on BC Ideas, so let's try throwing as well.
Hey, can this mechanism also be used to make like template companies? If you have like you're in a certain business and you have a lot of small customers using the same kind of configurations that you can just provide an A, B, C, and you just choose, okay, I want to run a company used not for demo purposes, but really like what you do with initializing a new company with Rapid Start.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It is definitely possible. As a matter of fact, right now, many of the, when you provision a new environment, you get one Cronus and one My Company, right? And with the My Company, the idea is that we will only run the setup layer of the data, so you can already kick off a production company. And I think that's definitely a possibility with this tool as well, to generate some templates and not for demonstration purposes, but already for production. That's definitely possible.
I think that you showed some code where you were creating units of measure. When they were not there already, I think I saw you were not calling the init method on that record. Is that on purpose?
That's actually a very, very good question. So when I was coding the whole process, I learned the init actually doesn't do much when the code is, when the variable is defined inside the procedure. At least that's how I understand it. So that's a really good question. At the beginning, I did the init, but my colleagues told me actually it doesn't do much.
I think you should implement that.
So you think that's a better practice to...
You also showed us a table where there was an init value.
Yes, that's true.
And that will not be inserted if you are not calling the init method.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's for another session.
Yes, that's a good point. I will look it up. That's a good feedback. That's a good feedback. And we have more questions there.
Yes, I have a question. Do you support adding additional fields from table extension using your data? So for example, I have an item, I want to create it by Contoso demo data, but I need to add additional field.
Yeah, that's also a possibility. So I think the first way is to do it is through the helper coordinates, but obviously we couldn't know what fields are there given our base app. So what you could do is to define your own helper coordinates that's a wrapper around ours, but add some additional logics. So this way you can insert data that tailors to your scenario. Or you can utilize the events we just talked about on after and on before generate to populate the data for your scenario. And also actually, I would suggest to check out some of the apps in AR app extensions. We do have some apps that's facing the same problem because there are some add-ons on top of the base app. So they also need to populate some custom fields. So check that out.
Thanks.
Quickly, just two questions. So for me, if I understood this properly, it still seems like you're hard coding the data. So for example, if I have 20 sizes, I don't know, UK, 9, 10, and so on, I still have to create the labels for all of them.
Yes.
So it's basically hard coding, more or less. Wouldn't it be better just to have like a text file and then pull all the data from the text file and insert it that way?
Well, that's more similar to what we were doing before. The problem with the text files is that they are hard to maintain because they're simply not code. Well, they're also kind of hard coded in somewhere, right? And when we hard code it in the code, it will be version controlled and simply like any other field. But definitely that's also a possibility, especially with the new resource files feature. I don't know if many of you are familiar. That's a new capability we provide that you, in the app, you can load some resource files. That's how we insert the images actually. So you can quickly check out the code. So if that's your preference, that's also possible.
Well, I'm asking because we are an ISV, so we have, I don't know, something around 300 tables.
Yeah.
And if you want to create like a demo data for 300 tables, you can imagine it will be quite a lot of work. Firstly, creating all the routines, which inserts the data into this one, and then also creating all the labels for different fields that you want to insert. So it's a kind of a full-time job for, I don't know, half a year.
Yes, but the good news is I only need to code it once, and hopefully in the future you can maintain the code and reuse it. But definitely you could try to use files to populate it. I think we have some examples in the demo data to populate. I can't remember what exactly it is. Maybe currencies. We are reading the files as well to populate certain data that we do not want in the code. So that's also a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, we have a question there, and I guess we will try to make it work. Careful. Perfect. That was a good throw.
Will the Contoso demo data also be used for the automated testing, or at least the helper functions to create the data?
That's a really excellent idea. And we have been having a long discussion internally. I would like the distinguishment between demo data and test data. I think they fundamentally serve different purposes. Demo data should be something that looks smooth, like we just saw in the keynote with the beers and power bank, and I think that should be the purpose of demo data. For test data, I think you should be more focused on the, for example, covering some of the edge cases and things like that. But definitely we can explore to use the helper code unions to insert demo data, because you save some time to maintain the test library, right? But right now internally we have a separated process, but you can definitely try to reuse them for testing purposes. So there's only one thing on top of my head, is that in the helper code unions, we try to use validate as much as possible. So those validation triggers on those defined in those tables will be taken into account, so the data generated looks realistic. But in testing purposes, you probably don't really care, and skipping those validations might speed up your test data generation. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider. There any more questions? Okay, not much so far. We'll switch to the screen and see if we completed the generation of demo data. So the warehousing scenario has completed. Sales order, yes. So if we switch to the sales order page, you can see there is many sales orders that's created. Some of them are created by the shoes module, but let's open a warehousing sales order. In this case, if you scroll down, you can see the items inside this sales order is created using the shoes module we provided. And if you go back to the Contoso module for warehousing, you hit configure again, you can see that previously the customer number and vendor number are empty, but in this case, they have been filled after the generation. And also locations has already also been filled. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but yeah. So if you have any other questions or any specifics, you can find me at the Microsoft booth downstairs. I haven't been there, but I learned it in the keynote that there will be a place you can come and ask questions. We can discuss things even further. Or if you are busy attending other sessions, please either email me on this email address, or email Val. He's the lead engineer for demo data. Since the very beginning, we have been working on this for a few semesters. So reach out to us with any feedback after you played around, if you have any suggestions to make it even better. And we're happy to answer any questions for you. And thanks. And that's all I have. Thanks a lot.